In a medical emergency, you've probably always heard that every single second counts. The mantra is faster is better, right? But what if I told you that for one of the most deadly conditions in any hospital, that rush to act might not be the best move after all?
Okay, so let's get on the same page. We're talking about something called septic shock. And this is truly a life or death situation. It's what happens when a severe infection just throws the entire body into chaos, causing your blood pressure to tank and your organs to start shutting down. And to really understand the stakes here, look at this number. We're talking about a 30 to 40% mortality rate within just 1 month. That's a grim reality. It's an incredibly dangerous condition, and doctors need to act precisely, and they need to act fast. Or do they? Well, that high mortality rate has turned treatment into this frantic race against the clock. For years, everyone agreed that you have to act quickly, but there's been this huge debate about the exact timing of one of the most critical interventions. So, the big debate is all about these powerful drugs called vasopressors. Their job is pretty straightforward. They squeeze the blood vessels to get that dangerously low blood pressure back up. This is absolutely essential to stabilize a patient. But the big question has always been, when do you start them? How soon is too soon?
And look, this isn't just some small disagreement among doctors. The very research we're digging into today points out that this optimal timing has been a huge question mark for a long time. Different studies were saying different things, and even the top experts were looking for a clear answer.
So, to finally try and settle this, researchers did something huge. They conducted what's called a meta-analysis. They started with nearly 2,000 different studies and painstakingly sifted through them, filtering everything down to only the best of the best, combining data from thousands of patients to get a definitive answer.
Okay, so after all that incredible work, what did they find? What did all this evidence actually reveal? Well, the answer was not what anybody was expecting.
The question they were trying to answer was really simple, right? Is earlier automatically better? If you give these life-saving drugs at the first possible moment, do you actually save more lives?
Now, this chart might look a little intense, but all you need to focus on is that black diamond at the bottom. See how it crosses that vertical line in the middle? In a chart like this, that means there's no clear winner. It's basically telling us that overall, starting vasopressors early showed no significant survival benefit compared to starting them later. Wow, a total surprise. This was kind of a stunning result. It's like, wait a minute, all this frantic racing against the clock doesn't matter? But as it turns out, that initial finding was hiding a much more interesting story. The real answer was buried in the details.
And this is where it gets really cool. The analysis didn't uncover a race, it uncovered a Goldilocks window. A time for treatment that's not too early and not too late, but just right. Okay, here's the core finding, and it's absolutely fascinating. The researchers broke down what early really meant. For patients who got vasopressors extremely early, we're talking within the first hour, there was no significant benefit. But for the group treated between 1 and 3 hours, that was the sweet spot. That's where they saw a significant drop in mortality. And they didn't stop there. They dug even deeper and found more evidence to back this up. For example, the benefit was most clear when the clock started right when the shock began and when the main drug used was norepinephrine all by itself. It all points to a really specific strategic plan being the thing that matters most. So why wouldn't extremely early be better? Well, the studies suggest that in that crazy, chaotic first hour, a doctor's attention is actually better spent on other critical jobs, especially pumping the patient full of IV fluids. Think about it. It's better to fill the tank before you start squeezing the pipes. If you rush one treatment, you might compromise another one. So what does this all boil down to for patients and the doctors treating them? Well, it's a pretty big shift in thinking about how we handle this kind of emergency. The big takeaway here is that the goal isn't just raw speed, it's about smart, sequenced action. This evidence actually challenges a really common protocol called the Hour 1 bundle, which basically says do everything at once right now. Instead, this research suggests a more strategic approach. Use that critical first hour for fluids and antibiotics, and then you start the vasopressors in that 1 to 3 hour sweet spot.
So this leaves us with this really interesting, kind of counterintuitive idea that could reshape how we think about responding to a crisis. When you get right down to it, this incredible analysis suggests that sometimes the most effective action isn't actually the fastest one. It leaves us with a pretty profound question. In the absolute chaos of a life-threatening emergency, Could the smartest move be to resist that urge to do everything at once and instead take a moment for a strategic pause?